Call to order at 7 o'clock. We'll do introductions. I'll start. Rich Werner, and I'm from Dove. We'll go to the left.
I'm Joe Winrink. I'm from Townsend on the Leland and Gray board.
And then we'll go from Brookline on the Leland and Gray board.
Yeah, and board members are, even if you're not the voting member, you're invited to the table.
Yeah, that's all right. I can hear. I like being with the public.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll shun you then.
Okay. Nancy Dyke, Windham.
Jerry Dyke, Windham.
Alicia O'Donnell, Brookline, on the Brookline New Fane School Board.
Luke Stafford, New Fane on the New Brook board.
Allison Hescock, minute taker.
Yay.
Dear John, Superintendent.
Doug Devada, CFO.
I'm Bill Antone. I'm the principal at the Dover School.
Heather Hallenbeck, Jamaica Board.
Auntie Rupert, Windham.
Carolyn Partridge, Windham.
Douglas Cord, Marlboro.
And Emily Long, Newfane, Leland and Gray.
And the gentleman is our same recorder as last time.
I don't know.
Thank you for coming back and visiting with us. Review and approve the minutes of the June 17th, 2015 meeting. So they were sent out at some point. I have a copy of them. I don't know if Stephen has any extras, but it was.
I didn't bring a lot of paper tonight,
No,
except for the agenda.
They
I
were
thought
sent.
people could look it up. And
So I have a copy if anybody wants to look at it. If
They're online.
they're online too, if you want to look at
Yep.
it. But I need a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Joe and Carolyn seconded from Windham. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or any nays? Perfect. Look how quick we're getting through this agenda. We'll be done by 7:10.
I haven't had dinner, so I'd be thrilled.
Well, Stephen said he was bringing dinner.
Oh.
Or at very least
Cowboy there.
cookies.
He said he was grilling steak tonight.
Yeah,
So-
like that 36-hour Guinness Book of Records, like Bellas Falls thing, barbecue, 36
Oh, the
hours
Shona
straight.
Grill.
Oh,
Yeah.
no kidding.
Yeah, August 1st.
Hey, sir, do you mind introducing yourself? We went around
I'm Rolf Parker from the Deerfield Daily News.
and we got, can you introduce yourself as you walk in, Lori?
Yeah, over.
Okay, so number 3, values, opportunities, and goals. So when we met last time, one of the discussions we had is maybe it would be good for all the different boards to, at their meetings, to discuss their values and opportunities and what they thought was important, so we can kind of have a start on something to look at. So I asked Stephen if he would bring something, and then when each board reports, there may be, just so we can see what's common between groups and what's not common, or where we're at and what we're up to. So I didn't know, I know Stephen has said, we met on Monday night. Stephen said that most every board had a chance to get together and discuss this. So, what do our boards want to accomplish? So we will start with whoever wants to volunteer and go first. And don't all jump at once.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure. Well, actually, what we could do is start with Brookline because it starts with B.
Okay.
Go alphabetically. Do you mind?
No.
Okay.
When we discussed briefly what we were talking about, the biggest concerns came up with our board were that to make sure that it was an equitable solution. Brookline and Newfane have already, in some ways, consolidated. Obviously, the closing of the Brookline School and merging our 2 boards. So we've really worked hard at keeping our budgets down. We've really worked hard for our communities to be ahead of the game there, and looking at a lot of the things for our school in the future and the distant future, both in the capital of the school and the school building, but also in how we already manage our assets. So it was we really want to work together, but we very much are guarded in the cost to our communities that might rise and fall by consolidating yet again, or by helping other school systems. The other, so it was to be an equitable solution for our school system. The other thing is to retain a lot of the school's character and their core values, the after-school programs, the behavior management, and all things like that. If we're kind of mingling the way things are done, those are the biggest issues that people wanted to see protected.
school program, and what was the other thing you said?
Behavior management.
After
Behavior,
school
thank you.
program, our behavioral management systems, and some of the other school values and things like farm to school, and those types of, the flavor of Newbrook.
Oh, and was that together, Brookline and Newfane, or were you gonna report this out separately?
That was together. I mean, and I'll just reiterate that, I guess that the people of Newbrook, or the people of Newfane and Brookline have, you know, they made sacrifices 5-6 years ago when the merger happened. And that we feel, you know, a great responsibility to the fiscal responsibility that's on us, which we felt like we've already made major concessions there, and sacrifices, and we'd hate to see that get eaten up by what could happen over the next 3, 4, 5 years with other mergers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Any comments, questions from anybody? Any concerns?
Do you have anything to add?
So, if you look up at what Stephen typed, is that a pretty good? Is there anything that you have any problems with that?
For what I
Don't
can.
hesitate.
No, I'm trying to guess what's on the end there.
Let's see if we can make it smaller and
That's better.
fits. You can read that all right, huh?
Is that
Yep.
pretty good for you
Yeah.
guys?
Yep.
Okay. There's no C's, so Laura, you're D.
Okay, here's my notes.
What's that? Is there a spelling issue? No.
No.
You're good.
No.
All right, okay, fine, yeah, C, oh, okay. Ready,
Dover, okay.
Dover.
So our parents have been very clear, and our voters, that school choice is very important to maintain, as well as their ability to pay extra for tuition out and additional funding. We want to keep a very strong elementary in our town. Again, climate program, flavor. We have significant resources through our fiscal responsibility that are very important to us that we'd be able to maintain. We've made strategic investments based on data and assessments of our students' progress over the years. And that's very important to us going forward, that both strategic investments, that they're based on data and assessments of students' progress. Obviously, we've been moving forward with the International Baccalaureate program. That's very important to our community. We've been to 2 town meetings, I think, on that with them. The folks, we've never had a problem getting our budgets passed, and we attribute that really to our voters really believing that they're getting a lot of value for the investment. It's the product that they're getting. Taxpayers need to be able to interact and feel welcome to do so with budgeting and the schools. And I think that is it, Mr.
I didn't
Chair.
get it all, we gotta repeat some of that. Taxpayers are welcome to interact with what?
They need to be able to interact and feel welcome to do so with the budgeting and other pieces.
With the budget process, I guess you want to say,
Yep.
is that right?
Yep.
And then there was, the one before that I think was, also.
Value for the
Value,
investment?
right, yeah, the public, did you say the public or the citizens? I forgot how you said it.
Yes, has felt that there was significant value for the investment. We have IB up there.
Feels, right, that there is value in our school investments, is that
Yeah.
what you said? Okay. Our school investments, right?
They're getting value.
They're getting value, okay,
And
they're getting value.
do you have
They're
IB?
Getting value getting value from our, right?
Yep.
From our, not from our school's investment. read over there, 'cause I think.
International Baccalaureate
Oh,
student,
yeah,
IB.
That was retain our physical resources, and then I could put in about IB.
Yes.
Okay, retain our plan, right, to
Implement.
become.
Become.
Yeah, to become EIP certified, right?
Yep.
International, I'm gonna spell it out, baccalaureate, because you know baccalaureate's a real hard word to spell back.
Well,
Good.
I think that's
Steve, can you
it.
go down, is there something on the bottom?
Yeah, I'll come to it, hang on.
Are you good with that, Laura?
Feel, yeah, I mean, that's really important to us, for our taxpayers to really feel welcome.
Feel welcome.
Yeah.
Let's not say are welcome.
Yeah.
Taxpayers feel welcome, right?
Yep, to interact
Which,
with budget process.
To
Oh
be
my
involved
gosh.
in the budget process, I mean.
Is this the highest and best use of Stephen Jones' time?
Interact, just get rid of the and, Steve.
Okay.
I think
I
interact with the
I
budget
think,
process.
1, 2, 3, school choice, extra funding, strong elementary, flavor, climate program, resources, that we've maintained, strategic investments based on data and assessments, IB value for the best. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody
Yes.
have any questions for Laura? And I got one person wants to comment over that. Go ahead.
Yes, I really think Dover's always done an outstanding job, and I've been impressed in the meetings. The resources you put into training your mainstream teachers through special ed has lowered your special ed costs. That's been impressive. I just wondered if Laura could say what goes into the assessment of the students.
We have had, and I can give high level, and can I ask?
Well, I can do it too.
Yeah.
What's happened is we do a lot of assessment throughout the year for the staff to be able to adjust their learning, their teaching, their instruction during the year. So that way they know what's getting through and what they need to improve on. So we do a lot of assessing all throughout the entire year. It's more than just the
Grades.
annual assessment that is required by the feds. And we don't even, the question was actually asked Monday, which is more important, the assessments that the staff does during the year versus the assessments for the standards through the state and the feds, and it's the stuff that's more important is
So
all
it's
the
all
assessments.
encompassing.
Right.
That's the-
Yeah, assessments are important to us with
Thanks.
that, yeah.
Thank you.
So the fiscal resources and the fiscal responsibility, the equitability, I think, can those kind of be the same? Everybody has whatever they've invested in their building and don't want to have invest in other. I'm guessing, is there any commonality there that we can?
I'm thinking we're looking at, right now, the way, correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. Right now, the way it's structured, we looked at a couple of papers in which Newbrook would actually end up paying more because of certain structures. If
What
they
do you mean,
combined.
if you could tell?
We were looking at our cost per pupil.
Yeah.
And how we've been able to maintain it being low, and very concerned about the proximity that the state has given with the cost per pupil and where we're at, and how we've worked really hard to be one of the lowest in the WCSU. Correct? Or one
Yeah,
of the
you
lowest?
have the.
And we didn't want to see if we have shared resources, if that would bump us up after. We don't want to be penalized for having consolidated already
And then
ahead
your
of the
costs
game.
go up because everybody
Because,
else's costs are
yeah,
up.
because,
Okay. So I think that's a little different.
Can I ask a question on that? You're talking specifically about the penalties, the 2-year, yeah.
Look, I just had, I think what the board, I was at the meeting
Yes,
a long
Stephen
time ago, but I do recall, the issue is, and Ken McFadden calls this to the board's attention all the time, if we have we being Newbrook now, the lowest per pupil cost in the SU, and we all become one unit,
yes.
then won't that gain that we've established on per pupil cost be then shared benefit among all the school districts, and those that have a very high per pupil cost will be slightly reduced by averaging with ours. In other words, the per pupil cost over a larger unit is going to be defrayed over the average of the larger unit.
We've got nowhere to go but up, and we'd like to keep it down.
That's another way of putting it. Yeah.
Okay, so if we're good with that, Jamaica. I don't know who's gonna.
Well,
And actually, we got two new people. You guys want to do a quick introduction?
I'm Rick from Northborough, Rick
Ann Reynolds from Jamaica.
And make sure you sign the book so you get credit for being here.
Oh, okay. Good.
You get free
Thank you.
pizza or something.
I would hold them to that. No dinner.
Oh, it's Steven.
Awesome.
It's like my dinner.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and Heather, feel free to jump in. We have been in the infancy stages of working with Townsend, who I don't believe is represented tonight. That's correct. Regarding consolidating our elementary schools, which is the school we have. And we've somewhat put that on hold until we get a better understanding of what's in front of us with the larger governance restructuring. So we didn't speak specifically to, we didn't discuss specifically our values. We didn't know we had homework, or we weren't told that. I wasn't, I should say. But I can say, you know, that Jamaica traditionally is cautious about changing what we currently have, and I think what we really value, again, is that this is a, that the quality of education remains intact, and that we do anticipate that our taxpayers will question within this restructuring the possibility of I guess maybe breaking off from supervisory union in an attempt to be able to go to or join with another group that would have a burn option. We're just anticipating. We've gotten feedback from some of our some of the people in the town that have expressed interest in that. Heather, any?
I think that's pretty right on. Yeah.
Okay, so Stephen just typed up kind of what you're talking. Is that a fair representation of what
Yeah.
you said?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions from or the group or any from outside?
Us?
No, the
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
How are you planning on improving or increasing your choice for, like with that Burton option?
Well, we don't know. I mean, we haven't, it's just, we don't know how that would, we haven't looked at it or done any work towards that whatsoever. We don't even really think that is an option. We just want to be able to speak to why we wouldn't necessarily do that, if it's not a good idea, or if it is, what that would involve. But we really don't have any concrete answers or anything like that.
I think it's on our minds because we had a meeting last night with Oliver Olson and Emily and all these people explaining Act 46, and it came up that districts could be, you know, it doesn't have to be contiguous districts to come together for this consolidation. And our people in our town, it's a constant battle with the Stratton Burton line and the union and this and that, so that's gonna come up for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say we looked at Dover and we called it the mental pain. Because if you try to do all those separate you know, people that are all similar to you or to any of the groups that are in here, you know, and get your 1100, I mean, it's almost, you go for miles, so it was it's quite interesting. Leland and Gray, sir.
We talked a lot less about value of what we want and just how do we move forward, I think. You know, there are people, the board is kind of split up. There are people who are really interested in exploring whatever options we have because we're facing, you know, declining enrollment, huge budgets. We're a high spending school. We've got, you know, plenty of problems that we need to address. But we run the gamut of, you know, don't do anything. wait, see what happens, wait them out. You know, obviously, obviously, you know, if we're willing to move forward with this, we're going to do the best we can for our kids through this. You know, we're looking to give them more opportunity. You know, instead of cutting back and giving them less and less. But you know, we got mired down in, you know, how do we do it and how does it look and where do we go, and much less about how do we want to come out of it.
So more opportunity for the kids, though, is a take.
Oh, definitely more opportunity for the kids. You know, simply being sustainable. You know, we may not be now. We don't know.
To be fair, the Leland and Gray board didn't meet since in July.
We met in May. Yeah, we met in May, so we have not
So
had.
you weren't specifically to go to that question.
We didn't go to the board and say.
Right.
The WCSU board would like to have feedback on this topic.
Right.
And so what Joe's sharing with you is sort of.
You're on the Leland and Gray board, right? Would you feel comfortable are you, pardon?
I was just saying, Linda, do you have something to add?
Yeah.
No, Joe's right. I mean, we're in a tough position. And I think we're exploring how to survive and how to ensure a good education for the kids. And looking to other, that's the reason I'm here tonight, to try to learn for our board.
Thank you.
So I would just agree with Joe, but I would also say that what's been critical for Leland and Gray for so many years is to be able to maintain the programs that we have and in fact increase the programs that we have. And that has become quite a bit of a challenge for us, mostly due to declining enrollment. And why we're high spending is because we have chosen to make the decision to maintain our programs. So that I think is something that our communities have been telling us year after year that they want to see continue. Access to as much as they possibly can. And it is a very high value for our community.
So if we put increased opportunities or increased programming, or do you want to do increased opportunities?
We want to maintain and increase, I think. I mean, there's a threat even to maintaining what we have, honestly.
But if you go increase, I mean, is that?
Well, I think it's important that you understand that there's a change, there's a threat to what we offer even today because of declining enrollment.
I added, Leland Gray board members, the board has written a vision for Leland Gray.
Thank you. I was just trying to find it that you could attach to this, but I couldn't find it online, so I didn't bring my copy.
Okay, go ahead.
The staff of Leland Gray too, I just want to throw this in, has been incredibly creative in including the students in a wonderful way. We have 3 students on our board regularly at every meeting, and well, 2. We had 2 seniors and 1 junior, Joe.
Only 2 now.
We have 2 now. We had 3 last year. But anyway, and also we've been heralded up at the state. We've been called up to talk about the kids being involved in an assessment instrument with 2 other high schools. The kids spent a whole year visiting other high schools, talking to other students. It was an amazing thing that the kids learned from, and the teachers. So there are very creative things going on at Leland and Gray. I don't want you to think we're
So you want to keep the
struggling to
creativity,
survive
too.
only. Yeah, we want to keep all that.
Those are called, I think those are properly called peer review committees.
Well, they're exciting, whatever they're
Committees that combine parent, board, student, teachers, and administration in visiting 2 other similar schools in exchange of those peer review committees. It was written up in the paper, but I'm just trying to make sure people get a clear idea what you're talking about there. Peer review committee and committees.
Well, we just want to keep all the creative things that are happening. That was one
Well,
example.
I was going to say, one of the things that was kind of said, Steve, was just creativity.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see with that.
and that was an example.
Keep the creativity of the program is what I think you want to say there, right?
Right.
Sure. And then Emily. Okay, so Leland and Gray, just check that. You guys are all good with that? You're okay with the wording the way it is up there? And then is there any questions?
Yeah, I have
Again.
a question. Again,
Good.
how did Leland and Gray facilitate the visiting 3 partner schools? How did that happen? Were they did they drive themselves? How
Oh,
did
yeah,
the kids
no,
get
that was
there?
just, it was a small group. The committee's only about 8, 10, something like that. It's not a big committee. It's not the whole school goes and visits.
No, but how did those students get transported to those schools?
Well, it was just
By
usual
car.
field trips. Adults drove. Staff
Adults
drove,
drove,
yeah. I mean,
okay.
members of the committee drove. Yeah. And they visited all the classrooms, and then they had a structured facilitator that guided their observations and facilitated the feedback, the forums for the feedback, so that was shared for the staff, shared for the students. And the board had a report as well.
And they actually
received
got
report.
credit from Castleton State. They
Yeah,
got
the
credit.
students who participated.
But let's, just so we
Sorry.
can keep on track, because we got a lot of stuff to do
Yeah.
tonight. I don't think that's really germane to what we're discussing, so if you have some interest, talk to them afterwards.
Okay.
And I appreciate the question, I don't wanna, but we got a lot of stuff we gotta try to cover. And I wanna try to get it on time.
Beth was on that committee.
Beth?
Beth
Oh,
McDonald.
okay.
Yeah.
Sir, Marlboro.
All right, so I'll try to be as succinct as possible, but we had a values community meeting actually last October, and we drew up a lot of notes from that, and you know, a lot of it was related to programs and school focus in general, but we teased out many things, and I think overall, at the time, pre-Act 46, the community really felt they wanted a school board and their own school board. I think that with Act 46, I think that sort of translates into voice and having a vote. So whether that's in a giant, you know, sort of SU that sort of shares, but as long as the voice is an equitable voice and that voice sort of segues, I think, into programming as well. I think that the loss of opportunities is a scare for most people in our community. You know, things like field research, our, you know, portfolio in the junior high program, which actually Brattleboro came up to meet our principal and talk about how that's run for their own junior high. So our arts program was valued, and you know, the junior high was a big piece too of that whole programming thing. But then, you know, following into that, even though there's a fear of loss of opportunity, there's sort of an opportunity for sharing resources too. We see that benefit. You know, we are in the middle of bringing early education, or at the start of bringing early education into our school, and we value that. We're working hopefully with another, you know, private school to do that at some point. And as you all know from our proposal last year with special ed, we hope to keep things equitable and look for opportunities to share resources and make things, you know, a little bit more equitable in that regard. And then I think most of all, just because of geography, a lot of people felt school choice was very important because there's people on this side of the mountain, that side of the mountain, and north that they just, you know, either they commute that way and want to have their kids go to that school, or they commute this way and want to have their kids go to that school. That's just, it just seems geographically that, you know, there are different people in the community that want to go in different directions, and I don't think anybody could disagree that they want to get rid of choice. So, in a nutshell, I do have a full list though.
So take a glance at what Stephen put. Is that a good representation for you guys?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Any questions for Marlboro?
Doug, should I say more specifically, this opportunity by shared learning program pre-K is really the overture from the private pre-K to become public, part of the public school? Should you say that? Or is that
I think it's
premature?
more just, that was just an example of
Okay.
the willingness of the community to share resources with other schools if and when we do become one district. So if we could take something from Dover and share an arts program in some way, or if we could, you know, there's a music teacher that we can think about sharing, and, you know, just getting it more equitable, and, you know, if things that other schools are doing well, and we can improve on, we're willing to talk in that regard, as well as, you know, keeping costs down and sort of like special ed and things like that. So that was just an example of how to do that. There's a willingness in the community there.
Hey Doug, what are the school choices for high school?
Hey,
What?
I was
You're
gonna
gonna
ask, was there any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Hey, are there any questions?
Well, for us, it's 9 to 12, and I think right now you can even choose out of state, but that's changed with Act 46. I mean, a lot of people in the community see it as a luxury. Some people see it as a necessity because of their location and where they have to go, either for their job or, yeah. So it hasn't really changed. I mean, a lot of our kids choose very different schools. We have some at the UHS, we have some at Twin Valley, some at Leland and Gray, some out of state, some private, Putney, wherever. They're just all over, and it's usually based on the family.
Okay. Any other questions? I've got one quick one, and this is kind of to you guys and you. And I guess it never really dawned on me very well that you guys have a 7th and 8th grade in your school.
Correct.
And do you do anything with Leland and Gray, being in the same district, to share resources between the
not.
Do we still call it junior high, or is it called pre-high school?
Middle school.
Middle school, sorry.
Being 4 months in, I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I can bring the question back to the board.
Stephen
brought it down.
Specifically, the teachers share the curriculum meetings in terms of the GLAMs, the grade level meetings. There is representation from from Marlboro at every grade level at these meetings, including the math committee and the literacy committee, the WCSU math committee and literacy committee that guide or provide a forum to have exchange and improve our instruction. So no, they're fully participating at that level. You're right, though. It's just Leland and Gray and the middle school staff
Marlboro
here, and Marlboro is it in terms of 7th and 8th grade in RSU.
And like Douglas said, it's, that it's a long way from Leland and Gray to Marlboro.
No, I didn't
so
know if
there's
there was sharing teachers like we do at the elementary level.
Well, exactly, that's what I'm trying to explain. Yeah. It's a long way from the two schools, so it makes Marlboro's situation a lot more unique, and it's a challenge for that. I think that at the SU level, that kind of collaboration does happen. It's really hard to get the kids together. I mean, very rarely are our Marlboro students attending Leland and Gray. It's usually if someone works over here or something like that, that they can transport them. It's a challenge for them to. And it would be the same with teachers as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, like our music teacher travels quite, the instrumental music travels quite a distance. He goes to Marlboro and he's at Leland and Gray, so does Leland and Gray and Marlboro share? Well, no, I'm not even that, but shared resources, like we do at the elementary level.
Right, what I'm saying is you can, at the middle school and high school level, the need for music teacher probably would happen every day, not just once a week or twice a week. Right. So there's a different need at the middle and high school level. It's not there for the elementary, right.
Anyway, I think that Doug's representing accurately Marlboro's interest in such collaboration.
And I just, because I've never seen that, we have the budget, the second budget we vote on the agency fund, that budget, and I just had never seen anything with Marlboro and Leland and Gray, and I just wondered if there was anything like that. Wardsboro comes before Windham.
Does it?
Yeah, A before. Hamel crowd
We didn't talk about this as much as we would have liked to have probably should have. Our board is actually pretty happy with the direction that our school is taking right now, and we've had some pretty good results over the past few years. So kind of reticent to make any changes, so we're just kind of sitting back and seeing how this all works out. School choice is important to us for secondary school. We're more interested in how this is going to look, or what direction we're going to take here, and important to us to bring it to voters early, I think, and have people have to meet about it and see where they all stand. Like I said, we can spend a whole lot of time on it.
So it's about what's for you.
And we also don't know how more we could share resources at this point. We're sharing music teachers, we're sharing art teachers, we're sharing special education. We're participating in all of those programs that Dr. John put together. Pretty happy with the results that's coming out of those too. So we just don't know where else we haven't had a lot of huge increases in our town school budget over the last 4 or 5 years, so it's been fairly stable.
Want to add something more add something more
No,
about
you-
that last comment you made?
Hmm?
Well, the last comment you made, you're satisfied with the present budget, is that what you were saying?
Just essentially, our budget has not gone up a lot since
Uh-huh.
CLAs haven't gone up a lot. Our spending per pupil has not gone up over the past probably 4 years significantly in Wardsboro. So. And the board did say that, I mean, it is important to them that we share these things with the town, because we don't feel like people in general are very cognizant of what's going on and what type of impact it's going to have. So we need to meet with people as quickly as possible if we're going to make any sort of large changes. Did you get that?
Yeah, I'm gonna say our board wants to meet with the public, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
As soon as possible regarding any proposals, right?
Exactly.
Any proposals to change governance, right?
Got it.
I'll take yes on that.
Okay. If you're good with that, you're the only one in your town, right?
I am.
No, we got questions first. You
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Questions. Go ahead, Luke. Got nothing.
Nothing? Emily has something.
I just wondered about your enrollment. How stable your enrollment is?
Been pretty stable.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank
we lost 5 or 6 students over the last few years, but that's about it.
5 or 6 over
5 or 6
over
students is about
several.
10% in Wardsboro, so.
Right, but over several years.
Over
not-
several years, yeah. Yeah,
And
it
your
goes up and down.
projections for enrollment?
Our projections for enrollment are that they're going to go down, but they have been, the projections have been off every year, pretty much.
Maintain more. Okay, great, thank you.
Anybody else?
So, wait, shall I add
It's gonna
that
be
there,
your
that
turn.
the, well, that is already the value, I mean, obviously.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say, should I add something about the stability of the
No,
of the
because
student
that's
population?
not
It's really
Wardsboro.
undervalued.
It wasn't a concern
Yeah,
during our
not a
meeting.
concern, right,
Yeah.
Projections are based on
Based on births.
births, okay, not like economic changes around or,
And that's why they probably are off. You know, there are some bids every year. Few move outs. Over the years, it stabilizes out, but essentially we've lost probably, well, like I said, 5 or 6 kids over the last 5 or 6 years.
well, I'm not gonna make,
Go ahead.
well, it's, Rich is gonna shut me down, but
No.
it's a question that I have in terms of.
As long as it's germane to this.
Yeah, and just knowing where you guys are, where we are, where others are, in terms of the size of the investments that are going on right now, the business investments that are going on right now. And if anybody's thinking about that in terms of projections, the workforce that's coming in,
Oh.
this sort of thing.
No.
And, right, that was what my question was
A
about.
big global picture. Anybody else?
Well,
Yes.
I'm very curious about school choice. Let's see, what's the most common secondary school choice for Wardsboro?
For us, it's Leland Gray.
Okay. Is there a close second at all, or is it like a by far?
Not really a close
No,
second.
okay, all right.
No, I mean, we sent probably 55, 60, 56 students, somewhere in that range.
And then-
And then, you know, 3 or 4 to Burton, and a couple of them will go, but it's 10 to 15% go elsewhere, and it is kind of scattered around.
Hey, everybody good with Wardsboro? Now it's your turn, man.
Thank you. We did have a little bit of a discussion at our last meeting. We've also been having some brainstorming sessions with members of the community, generally before or after our school board meetings. And what some of the feelings that have been expressed include a real, we always see ourselves as, the target, the poster child for let's close them down. And that really concerns a lot of the parents and some of the community members. And we see it, well, part of there's sort of this presupposition that if you're a small school, you lack opportunity. And that just is not the case in our school. could go on and on. We don't have time. Some of the things that we do for our kids, our test scores are great. The kids come down to Leland and Gray, they do really well. So there's a concern about loss of opportunity. There is a concern about losing local involvement, parental involvement. I think there's a sense that we would like to maintain our school board. The school boards really, in most cases, do not cost very much, and they're a local connection to the community. We feel that parental involvement is really important, and so if a parent were to have to come down to Leland and Gray, for instance, for a school board meeting, they probably would not do it. We've also heard from one family in particular, that if our school ever went away, they would just homeschool their kids. There's a real strong feeling about the importance of the school as it is. So we came up with actually several principles which will sound very familiar to what happened with the when we were involved with the RED process, and that is that any kind of proposal would have to really improve educational opportunity, and there'd have to be some really what's that?
Whiz bang.
Yeah. It would have to be very tangible and very real for us. We would like to see a serious analysis of any kind of cost savings, to go through a significant upheaval and potentially have our kids riding the school bus for way longer and dropping through cracks and what have you. We want to see an analysis of what kind of actual savings there will be. And then the third principle is that.
It's not coming up, excuse me 1 second.
Yep.
It's not coming up there, I don't think.
Well, I didn't think that was a value, but it's something to do. But-
Well, it's a principle.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put
I
it,
think we can
but how do you want to say
call
it?
principles values.
Which one are you working on?
He didn't get any of them.
I don't
Schools
know, I got
importance
quite a
to
bit
the
in there.
community. So we
Okay.
had any proposal to increase educational opportunity
Yep.
That's a value.
and savings and analysis of savings, tangible and real.
And the third one is that only the voters of the town of Windham could close the school. We also recognize that we're deemed at this point geographically necessary, and so don't really have to participate, but we do want to participate. I think that there's some things that I would love to see, which I won't get into in this discussion, but I think that there are things that could happen that could be very positive. For instance, kids who live out in West Windham could potentially, even though they live in Jamaica, could come to Windham. I don't want to see Jamaica take a hit for that, but, makes a lot of sense. Or kids that live on the hill could come up to Windham, as Stephanie Amialt said at our last meeting, rather than going, down the hill and what have you. One interesting thing that has happened, you talked about our projection. Our projection is that actually our student population will increase next year. And recently, in the last few months, there was an ad placed in one of the Edible magazines. I don't know whether it was Edible New York or Edible Brooklyn on our behalf. There is a fellow who is going to come up and visit the school. He's a guitar maker. He has a 7-year-old daughter, very interested in getting out of the rat race. And that was sort of the result of having that community conversation about how can we attract more people to the town of Windham. So, the ad's going in again, and we'll see. So that, I think Antia had something she wanted to add.
Yeah, I have to say, having been part of the RED discussion for 12 months and having attended the informational meeting that followed just before, when you guys all came up to Windham while we were no longer participating, it seemed to me that we went through all of this before and came to the conclusion that there aren't necessarily any cost savings by creating a joint board. Isn't that, wasn't that sort of?
That wasn't the
Yeah,
outcome.
but can I just say, so we're in a little different position now. The red was a voluntary thing. The legislature's now said we need to, again, somebody was saying Joe was saying he's got members on his board that just don't want to do anything, let's dare them to. And the problem is if we don't at least look into something, or if we don't try to do something, they're gonna do it to us, and I never like getting it done to us. I always like to have some say in what gets done to me.
I agree with that, Rich. I never said anything against it,
no,
but if you've
that's-
already spent 3 years in trying to figure something out, and that model didn't really work.
Right, but so if we said it
That's
didn't
a better
work because of this red study, it's not gonna fly with the legislature unless the legislature completely changes overnight, which I don't think it is, and the governor changes and the Secretary of Education changes, and there's a lot of other changes that I don't think would happen.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
respond, because you were absolutely right about the outcome of the meeting up in Windham, but that was quite different from the outcome when we had at Newbrook, which had a completely different perspective of the proposal that was out there. The decision was made by the Red Committee that there wasn't going to be enough support in the communities to drag them through this whole process. But that didn't mean there wasn't support or that there wasn't analysis that there could be cost savings. The fact was we never got into that because we needed to be able to say exactly what we're gonna look like to make decisions about what that cost savings may or may not be, and we never made it to that level. We proposed some places where we could have seen cost savings, but until we had made a decision, which we never got that far, we couldn't say specifically what they were gonna be.
And I don't disagree with you, but I think we have to go through the process, because if we don't, again, I don't think that it's just gonna go away.
No, it probably won't go away, but I think I have a very strong feeling that if there's any cost savings to be had, it's on the supervisory level.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing too, is that's specifically something we asked when the secretary was in Dover, and first off, they'll tell you they can't tell you where all the money's going and how it goes, and because we've been asking for that for years in Dover, and Manwaring's been asking for it for years. But this is something we have to deal with, this law, and there's other supervisory unions that are doing nothing. They're going to meet maybe and talk about it in the fall. I just think as a group we need to really look at it and look at it strongly. Because if we can say that, hey, look, we don't think that this is going to do anything, then we have a better leg to stand on and go to the legislature, go to the commissioner or the secretary, and go to the Board of Ed and say, hey, look, we studied this and we're already doing half the stuff you asked us to do. We need to move forward and do this. I don't think not.
But they do have one thing up there which is absolutely correct. Carefully analyze what the cost savings are with any change. I mean, you've set that as a principle, and I think that's critically important, not just for you.
Before you make the change.
Understood. But
And
that's
and
for
there's
everyone.
there's not going to be any change happening in tomorrow or the day after. I mean, there's going to be a lot of voting or a lot of discussion and a lot of more community involvement and stuff like that. Carolyn, before we go to questions, can you just look at is that pretty good up there?
I think
Are you
that's
happy
pretty
with
good.
that?
Yep.
Okay, so questions, Lori, you got one?
Just a comment on the Ancha and Emily's, which is I would hope actually that all that work, that there would be credit for all of that work having been done, right? And some of us who didn't participate, I mean, we wouldn't be starting from scratch or.
And actually, I got a copy of the red and I printed it and put it in my book because it was really an interesting thing, and I think every board should review it.
But I think the fact that it has been done, I think the fact that, that was explored, I think that's an important step that was taken.
There are minutes and there are outcomes from every one of those meetings.
Right. But important steps that were taken before this legislation is my point. And I think we need to see that as something that we did, like something that you did.
Yeah, we should.
There has been significant consideration made
our supervisory union has tried to be on the forefront, I think, and we should not get penalized at least, you know, and working on trying to stay out of getting penalized for consolidating early, you know, and get credit for it.
Are you good, guys? All set?
I just want to share with you Stephen Morris's comment. He came to the meeting last night at Jamaica at Jamaica with Townsend, and pointed out that in the end, the State Board of Education, according to this law, has to make the tough decision about where to assign boards, school districts that haven't taken some initiative or haven't made some effort. And he said that, look, it's not an issue of cost savings. That's not what the State Board of Education is concerned about. Their concern is equity of educational opportunity. So what we have to do, and I think Carolyn's spoken to it, and I did, is, you know, is the evidence of learning opportunities and excellence equitable throughout the SU, or throughout the group, whatever, you know, and for the state, because they're concerned about the state, of course, not specifically Windham Central.
Thank you, Stephen. Yes.
I have a question, and I didn't read Act 46 particularly thoroughly. However, at some point I heard something about one of the schools withdrawing from the SU. How would Act 46 impact that school?
What do you mean?
Like they said, so they want to retain choice, and if they couldn't, by remaining in the supervisory union, that they would withdraw from the supervisory union. What would happen? How would that impact?
Well, they can't withdraw from the supervisory union. They have to get permission to do it, and they probably wouldn't get permission to do that. But some schools may want to go to a different supervisory union. Windhall used to be in our supervisory union. They withdrew, and they want to go, and we had a vote to allow them to go, and they had a vote to allow them in, and the state board had to bless it, and probably at that time it wasn't the secretary, it was the commissioner, and there's a process. What's going to happen is in a couple of years, the State Board of Education, and if Stephen Morris is still around, who's chairman.
Actually, he claims he won't be. He can't be renewed in his position. He won't be in 2020.
There until 2017, but I think, you know.
But anyway, somebody's going to look at it, and they're going to say, you know what, you say you want to stay like you are, it doesn't work for us, and here you guys go. But so I don't want to, because we're almost out of time on this topic.
That's fine.
Did you find those minutes?
I mean, I don't know if they've met since.
Okay.
I found
Stephen, Townsend isn't here.
Oh, well.
Did they have can you give us a brief summary of, did they have a discussion, and does it show up in minutes? Or should we just not put anything up for Townsend for now?
I think I should put in here to be safe, Townsend not reporting.
Okay.
Okay?
How about
I mean,
Stratton?
I don't want to cut him short, but, and it's the same thing with Stratton. I don't want to contribute to rumors.
not reporting yet.
We're not yet reporting, yeah.
Okay.
They will, sure.
I'm gonna put Stratton in first. You know, I have shared with all of you what Dan French said about.
Well, let's go to that
okay,
in a
that's
few
next,
minutes,
thank you.
because that's now, I think that's more than topic number 4.
Not yet reporting, okay? And I'll say the same thing for,
Okay, so we have a list of kind of the values and what's important in each of the schools. What we can do is maybe see if we can contact Stratton and Townsend and add that, Stephen. So the other thing we were gonna do was kind of compare that to Windham Central has a mission statement, somebody help me with the terminology. Core values. Thank you. I don't have it in here. Filing system isn't as good as I thought it was. So, I think what we should do is we'll take this list, and if it's okay with the group, Stephen and I, or Stephen and anybody who wants to work on it briefly, or if I got a couple board members that'd like to work on it, see if we can find any commonality in it, so we can maybe shrink it down a little bit. And I think there's a lot of things that I think I would be probably right in saying, you know what, every board wants representation. Every board, you know, would like to see a school in their town. Every board wants a lot of opportunity for their students. And, you know, every board wants fiscal responsibility, and I think those 5 things are pretty basic, and then there's some specific things. Some schools that have school choice would like to retain it. So if it's okay, we'll put that together, that we can review that at the next meeting, and then that we can kind of use that as our guiding, you know, as we move forward, if that's okay with people.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any comments, any thoughts or questions on that?
Just a comment, I wonder, I mean, if there's obviously a lot of commonalities, but perhaps maybe it's too early, but a future discussion, if we are moving forward and potentially exploring, should be what are you willing to give up? Because I think there might have to be, or maybe a ranking of importance. And
Well, what I thought of, kind of where I'm at is I had that for later, is,
Okay.
you know, some schools have school choice. Would anybody be willing to give that up for, you know, a lower tax rate? Or there's, you know, the ability to save 30 cents over the next 5 years if we move, or 20 cents. I think it's 10 off, so 20 cents if we go to the preferred model. So would people be willing to either give up the school choice to have a tax savings preferred model, or would they not want to do that? And I think what we should do is then kind of look at, I thought we could look at those different things at a future meeting. So I think we're pretty good with the school, with the values from every school. We'd like to get Townsend's input and Stratton's, and then that would be everybody. I think two boards.
I can't assure you it won't be very much different. Stratton's gonna wanna retain choice. Townsend is gonna wanna retain the programs, its flavor, you know, it's.
Yeah, but let's just get from them if
I
there's something
understand,
we're
but-
missing.
Yeah, okay.
Is everybody okay with that? Is there anybody that would like to kind of work with this and see if we can help out? Because we're trying not to burden Stephen too much.
Yeah, this doesn't take my insight to do. I mean, anybody can look at this list and try to figure out what's the common issues.
I'm willing to do it if somebody want to help me.
I think we should burden Stephen, but sure. No, I will.
Okay. So we'll,
Can we email it?
yeah, no, we'll just
Okay.
email it back and forth. We'll get it to Stephen, and then we'll kind of include it in the minutes, and then people can comment on it, and then we'll take their comments. Is that good with everybody?
Yep.
Anybody else have a burning desire to play with this, Bud?
I don't have
It's like
too much
numbers.
time.
Okay, let's move on to number 4. Meeting with other SUs, executive committee boards, etc. See attached superintendent's report on the neighboring 5 SUs. So this is really exciting. Stephen did a really good job of getting us a bunch of he did contact the surrounding supervisory unions. It goes to everything from, I have the Bellows Falls group saying, we haven't started talking about this yet, we're gonna do it sometime in the fall, to Windham Southwest saying, we don't see how we can combine anything and do anything, any savings. So it was sort of like basically saying no.
That's kind of what they told also.
Yeah, and then Brattleboro saying that, you know, they're looking at, it was kind of a report from one of their members at the last meeting, that they're looking at becoming the preferred model, the supervisory district. To Dan French saying, you know, we're gonna steal Stratton kinda, and we've already got it kind of planned out. And Dan actually had a pretty good, and I think Stephen sent that out, or?
Yeah, I gave his correct report, because I didn't see any reason to edit
He's
it.
got it all planned out.
Yeah, so it sounds like everybody's trying to do everything within their supervisory union, which doesn't sound like what the Secretary of Education or what this law was meant to do, does it? I mean, am I wrong, or?
Yeah, you're wrong.
I am wrong.
Actually, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Because there's
Sort of
Tell me.
predictable.
quite a lot of conversation going on within SUs, and I recognize what you're saying about the Windham County itself, but there are there's a lot of activity going on around the state for school districts that don't have the diversity of choice like we do. I think it was very well expected, and that's why there are alternative models in here, that supervisory unions with a variety of choices like ours, which was so complex, that there is the ability to move forward still under Act 153 and 156 and under Act 46 to improve educational opportunities and hopefully save some money and still maintain an SU. So that's why the structure's still there and available to supervisory unions to
Right.
continue to do that.
So
I
they
think
didn't
this,
want us to
just the
go
fact that
outside
we're
and just
having.
stay in our supervisory union.
No,
and have
I
that
think they
discussion?
wanted us to, and I mean, I'll just speak from my role sitting on that committee over and over, saying the voice of communities and schools and school boards need to play the strongest role here. And I think that's what's happening. I think we just went around the table and we did exactly that. And I'm assuming that's what's happening in other SUs. I don't know whether this supervisory union is gonna make a decision to reach out and actively pursue activity with another SU. They haven't obviously done that with us, but that doesn't mean we couldn't do that with someone else if we felt like that.
Yeah, I see it more as a district focus, and the mergers thereof. I mean, if we just all decided to become one district, that would probably satisfy it. I mean, that's not going outside of a supervisory meeting, so.
So I guess that's the question, though, that's what it's here for. Do we want to reach out to other supervisory unions and see if they want to have any discussions with us, I guess? That was kind of my intent in the agenda, to send out a letter to all the neighboring supervisory unions, see if there was anything that we could have discussions with them, it was worth their while. So that's kind of where I'm at, or that's what I want to open up the floor with, and.
Can I ask a
Yeah.
clarifying question? So that would mean we would ask them to join in discussions about potentially merging, or?
Or is there anything we can do together? I don't know if it's merging or work together or share resources.
So it doesn't have to be a governance structure change per se.
I don't know. I'm throwing it out there.
Seems very.
It's very broad.
Very broad and not really any.
That's what we
It's
said
very-
at the meeting last week.
Maybe, yeah, I'm not sure how we're supposed to.
So, one of the things, I know we have it later on in the meeting, or on the agenda, I think, is going to this meeting in Montpelier. But relative to this discussion, I know that Windham Southwest went to one of those meetings, and were basically told, you kind of have two choices, and neither one of them is gonna work for this, and, you know, looking at that and thinking, you know, districts have been told they're not gonna be orphaned, these guys aren't really big enough, they're told they kind of only have a couple choices, so I'm really interested in what we're gonna be told. There could be some really brilliant solutions that are put forward to us, but also, I think something for Emily, for myself, for Carolyn to think about going in is, and maybe a question that you can answer now. I've seen some conflicting info coming from different state education entities about Act 153 still applying. I mean, I've seen
Still
communication
there,
saying
but-
that that's actually over because now we.
No, it's not. Still
Okay.
Till 2017.
Pretty high up that came from, and then wondering if, because I know things are really flexible, you know, like if there is that flexibility for some districts to remain under that, and if that's something that we are able to maybe get some more clarity on. I don't mean to put you on the spot, I don't know myself, and if we don't know, if there's some way of finding that out because of the expectation that this particular area with all its choice would be so tricky.
I would hope that that's a question that the team who goes up there to Montpelier is asking, because there's quite a few entities that this team would get to meet with. What concerns me is what you just said in the very beginning of that, and that is somebody was being told what they, and I'm not sure that that's what the role of this meeting was, so I'm disappointed that that was what the interpretation was. There is nobody who has the authority to tell Windham Southwest what to do at this point in time. That may happen if they choose to do nothing, but at this point in time, they're in the driver's seat, they get to decide. So if anybody's telling us what to do, we would say, well, no, we're in the middle of a study and we're gonna make some decisions on our own, and I would expect that that's what Windham Southwest would do as well.
Okay, just having a lot of discussions in there, not wanting to belabor this either, I think it might be incumbent upon us to make, I mean, there is a lot of flexibility built in here to try and
Absolutely.
I'm a big advocate for not looking for lines, but, you know, we may wanna find some.
So I guess the question boils down to, do we want to try to see if there's any other supervisory unions around us that would like to get together and have some discussions in a broad category? Is there any chance, opportunity for working with each other? is there any opportunity to do something together? Is there any opportunity to share resources?
I don't see what the harm is
Yeah.
in asking.
And
I'm sorry. Can
I
you
said, considering how many schools would like to retain choice, I think it would be a good idea to speak to the other supervisory unions, because the schools that they have choice for are in those supervisory unions.
And I would say, in order to protect ourselves, I think we have to be cognizant of what's going on around us, and this knowledge that if we've got some potential orphans forming, that we don't know what's gonna happen with them or how they're gonna be treated, that we may wanna do some outreach there, in our best interest, or somebody else around.
So could I make a suggestion that, because we're looking at like several different entities, different groups, would it be okay if the officers of Windham Central put together a letter to send out to the officers of the other supervisory unions and offering, because we are kind of actually centered around them, or maybe more towards Jamaica Way or something, but see if we can have a meeting of the officers of the different supervisory unions at least, and then anybody that could come who want to come, but
Sounds like a good idea.
and see who would be willing, and then just have a very broad agenda of, you know, is there anything we can do together in light of Act 46 and or, you know, to work with each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anybody that doesn't like that idea? Except for Alicia and
Would that
Emily,
be
who I just
after
gave them work to.
your training session or the same?
Yeah, I can't see it happening before.
Because you have more direction.
What did you say about before?
I can't see it happening before we go to Montpelier on August 7th.
Right, I think actually there's a series of information meetings happening in August. The last one I think is on the 22nd. I think that's when the Brattleboro is going to attend, or at least Superintendent and Frank Ruckrock. So I think that it's good timing if you get this letter out ahead of time in preparation, and then those boards, all of your neighboring SU boards are either meeting in August or meeting basically in August to decide what their next steps are. So if you have that letter in hand,
When they meet,
yeah,
and we could
you got a
shoot
chance
for
to get something
September,
happening sooner rather
a
than
meeting
later.
is sometime in September. You know,
I just have one question.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that this board, this committee, because this is the executive committee, is very clear about who that letter is going to. I think I know all the ones that Stephen
Well, let's
reached
do it.
out to, but that's what I'm saying, I would
Yeah.
like us to go through, because I'm not sure we heard back from Southwest.
Bennington never said anything.
So, but it.
So we
but I
want
think-
Bennington Southwest, right?
Well, all the ones that surround
Bennington
us.
is the Southwest Supervisory Union, Windham
Okay.
Southwest is the other one.
Okay,
It's
so
confusing, I
Windham
know.
Southwest, which is Wilmington,
That's
right?
Twin
Yeah.
Valley and.
Okay, and then we've got the Bennington,
It's
I think
actually
it's
called
Southern
Southwest
Vermont,
Supervisory
Southwest
Union.
Vermont, yeah.
okay,
It's just-
Southwest,
yeah,
and that's,
Southwest Vermont.
and that's Bennington.
Bennington.
Yeah.
And then we have the French one, which
That's
is
Bennington,
Rutland.
Rutland.
Bennington, Rutland, and then we have,
Wyndham
Two
Northeast.
Rivers.
Oh,
Two
Two
Rivers.
Rivers.
That's Green
That's
Mountain
Green
and
Mountain.
Ludlow, or Green Mountain and
Black
Black
River.
River.
and then you had Bellows
Those,
Falls,
that's
Wyndham
Wyndham
Northeast.
Northeast.
and then you had Brattleboro.
Wyndham Southeast. yeah.
Was that it?
That's
One,
all of
two,
our
three,
neighbors,
four,
too.
five, six,
Well, Bennington is
six of
a
them.
stretch, but it's out there.
It is.
So there's six altogether. We're number 7.
Yeah, we're in the middle there, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, that meeting there, if you have 3 officers from, that'd be 21 people. That's a pretty big.
And the reason I think that we should include Wyndham Southwest was because we actually had a meeting with them when we met jointly with
Yeah.
Wyndham Southwest. I think Bennington did participate in that meeting and, you know, did have some thoughts about it, so.
Southwest.
The Southwest, Bennington
The
Supervisory.
Bennington,
I was referring back to when Windham Central and Windham Southwest
I
were
get confused.
getting together. I know this is confusing, but we
Vermont,
did hold a
Vermont.
meeting that included all of those same supervisory unions except for the Bennington Rutland.
if you really want to know something really cool, is so I got a whole bunch of other things that are going on throughout the state with other, like, some other groups, and there's actually another WCSU
Yeah, it's Windham Central.
Right, and
Windsor.
I was reading that, and it
It's
was, so,
It's, Reading
because
and,
they're doing some study and, so it's, it gets very, very confusing. So we'll work on a letter that we can send out to the other boards, and then Steve can just help us getting the addresses or however we have to do that. So if we're good with that, we'll move on to, on August 7th, so at the last meeting, we had a discussion that there was a group of people, Steven sent out the email, it was actually, I think, part of the minutes that we just approved. It was the boards and chairs and superintendents. There's a team that was willing to meet with people, to kind of go over what they're feeling or their take on Act 46 is, and give us a chance to ask questions. It's, an hour meeting on, I think
August
August 7th.
It's a Friday at 3 p.m.
So,
There are other dates available later in August, but
Right.
that was the only one that I could make. That's
so
why
one of the things I thought was really important is I wanted to have that on our agenda, because I wanted to discuss what is important from this group for us to ask when we go up there. Because we're not going up there as Dover or Leland and Gray or Windham Central, we're going up for all of us in this committee. So if you had the ability to ask any question you want to ask of these people.
Laura got one already. Got 156 and 153.
I'm sorry, what
You
was?
think that's a good,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Laura asked
just-
that.
Let's throw it out there so everybody understands what
well,
it
that
is
was
and
the
make sure.
question that I was asking Emily
Yeah, I
before,
mean, I think
not
there
putting her
needs-
on the spot, but like, do we need to get some clarification?
Absolutely, I totally think there needs to be clarification.
Does
from this
everybody
group.
understand that?
No.
Can
No,
I
restate it out loud so that.
So,
You should say
Press
who's
can
gonna
hear
be
it.
at this meeting, so that
Okay.
people understand
Well-
what I mean, you can't think about what questions to ask until you know who's going to be participating in this meeting, and
You keep raising your hand and he doesn't see it.
No, I'm sorry, I was keeping it back of my head.
Okay, so as it
was gonna
stood,
holler, yeah.
there was gonna be 5 of us going.
You've got 5 slots, that's all I can get
Right.
for us, at that
That was
particular
what I meant.
meeting. You could have
that
other
was what I
meetings.
meant. What I meant was who we would be meeting with,
Oh,
what
I'm sorry.
organizations, so
Okay,
that,
so-
you know, like Laura's
Right.
question is very valid, because there's going to be several entities who should be able to authoritatively answer that question.
Okay, so who is at this meeting is Stephen. Give me-
Who's going to be presenting?
Yes, so we have,
Nisbet, VPA, VSA, and VSBA,
And the
and the
AOE.
AOE. So you got all the players represented at
Is
this
that
panel
so?
supposedly. Sorry?
Is Vasville gonna be there? I don't think
No.
Vasville's intentionally participating in this.
We don't think so.
okay, so the VSBIT is the School Board Insurance Trust.
That's right.
Then you got the Vermont Principals Association, the Vermont Superintendents Association, Vermont School Boards Association,
And the AOE.
and the AOE. And I know at some of these, the secretary was the AOE rep, and Steve Dale was the rep for VSBA, and I don't know who the other reps are.
Jeff
Laura-
Francis.
Laura Soares was, I
Perhaps
think,
Laura
from
Soares is gonna be from
Visbit.
Visbit, although it could be somebody else, but.
Ken
Visbit is going to be the funding source, or at least the agent for the support of studies. Providing the training for people to provide the sufficient expertise regarding the law. I'm just quoting Oliver Olson mostly here, but regarding the law and implementation of law, and what options you have and what your study should undertake. Another thing we're looking for, which I don't think is going to be available at that meeting, but we hope it is Bud and I are talking constantly about, well, what does it mean financially? What does it mean to tax rates? What does it mean to projected future? Well,
what's it?
yeah, what's it? Well, but there has to be a template, a spreadsheet of the different elements that have to be considered financially. Go students, I mean, what's the extent of go students in your SU?
Can we not coin new phrases, though? That's
Yeah.
phantom story.
You mean
That's
phantom
phantom
Phantom,
students.
sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
Let's not make it any
I
more confusing,
apologize.
Phantom
Stephen.
students are hard enough. It's the whole term is provision.
Yeah, well, anyway, there are various, issues that, it's pretty hard to think of them all on top of your head. So
Yeah.
we do have to have something that's consistent across the state so that every school district and collaborative group of school districts and SU can provide analysis and information that's going to be accurate. Nobody wants to go to the, you don't want to go to the public and present something and then find you haven't thought of something. I don't, anyway.
Well, I guarantee you, we're gonna be talking to the public, because we are right now, and the public is gonna ask us a question we're not gonna have an answer to, but hopefully we'll be able to find it.
Never
And
fails.
that's- And that's why we're here.
That's
I
why
mean,
we're here, yeah, good point.
So we went over some of the different players. So what are the kind of concerns, or what are some of the questions that you folks want to make sure that we get a chance to ask? And Laura had a,
Restate.
yeah, please.
So my question is, I am concerned, so 153 had to do with small schools and geographic necessity and all of this. So I am aware that very high up in the educational food chain, I've had in another SU, they've been told that is no longer that's no longer what we're considering since 46. And yet I'm hearing that, and I sense this, that there's gonna be, and I know that there was a lot of flexibility discussed, that there's a sense that there's a lot of choice here, there's a lot of differentiation here, and that in fact we may still operate under 153 or 156, or, you know.
Still a lot.
Right,
Doesn't
and
go
so
off the
I think we
books
need to
until
get
26.
clear about what our specific
And what are
obligations.
options as well, because if it's.
Well, yes.
153 and 156 is still there, are they options?
Right.
That's what you're asking.
So options
Yeah.
are
And obligations.
153 and 156
Right.
still options, or do they go away
Right.
when?
They need to be voted on by 2017. Before this bill, they needed to be operational by 2017. After this bill passed, they need to be voted on by 2017.
So we have a number of small schools, some of them are geographically isolated, some of them,
That's another, you might wanna add that to the question, because.
that's exactly where this question is coming from, because I'm having
That's
small
addressed
schools that are geographically isolated who are being said, no, now you
Under what
not.
definition? Because there's really, I mean, this is the issue. Brad James testified to our committee that he was the one who developed that list of criteria about the 10 miles, and, you know, Carolyn, you may have participated in some of that conversation because you are so geographically isolated from your neighbors.
Has to do
But-
with the terrain and.
Right,
Yeah.
but that
Conditions
was
of
Hazardous
never an
roads.
official list. And so in Act 46, there is a requirement for that to become actually official. So there's going to be, I think it's the AOE who's charged with coming up with, don't hold me to that, that's a question that should be asked, and you should figure it out. I think something got tweaked in the Senate on that one,
So
but
unfortunately, we bounce around a lot. I need questions because
definition of geographic isolation.
Yeah, Steven's got that, I'm sorry. I think also, piggybacking the geographic isolation, you know, in the Act 46, there's usually 3 points, and it's, you know, a district that meets these criteria. And is geographic isolation a sole thing, or do you have to be 900 students and geographic isolated, because that's not gonna happen?
The problem is, it's not, I think we're limiting it, I don't think it's specifically just geographic isolation. I think there may be other.
No, there were other
Because
pieces that were put in,
that's
I certainly
exactly.
worked really hard on that myself.
Exactly,
to
so
put
I
some of
think
those
we're,
things in, which is
we
why I was a little
shouldn't really be
surprised.
using geographic isolation at this point in time, because it's a more broad.
And it's
Right.
necessity, it's not isolation.
Exactly.
Just a question, and it may already be answered, but does this act define what educational equity looks like?
That's the $1 million question, that's why we're doing this.
Thank you. So we are defining it, essentially.
All of us, yes.
That's where the act says,
All across the state.
we want you all, but that'll be fun.
well, there's actually the thing that Oliver Olson had put out. There was talk about that, like if there was an opinion from that Russo lady.
I'm reading it,
Russo.
Yeah.
but that's
Savage.
more about,
And that, well, but that talks about, you know, like,
the the
we can't
options.
have in Windham, you know, just if I'm live on
Yeah.
one street in Windham, I can go anywhere I wanna go, but if I live on the other street, I have to go here. But, so if we're all one big district, could you say that, well, if you live in Newfane, you have to go to Leland Gray, but if you live in Wardsboro, you can go to Burn.
Right now,
Is
equitable
that-
opportunity is defined as tax rates and your,
Well, it's always been
your
about money.
capacity to raise money to educate your kids.
Is it, okay, so
That's
is that
what it-
holding true for this?
Well,
No, that's what we've been dealing with. And
Right.
It doesn't work, which is why we're doing this. It's
Right.
not-
Laura, could
Right.
you say that again? That was a good summation.
Okay.
I want to get that down.
Educational equity
Mhm.
is defined as equal capacity to raise money for your students.
Which would
Is that
hopefully in
well
turn
phrased?
Basically,
provide.
every town
Every town.
can raise the
Yes.
same amount
Same
on
amount.
1 penny.
Yes, to
The
then.
tax rate.
And
And this is what
dispense
state
it.
or is this the draft?
No, this is, no,
On
actually,
scale.
it says draft, but it's not. This is the bill that passed, right, so.
Okay,
No
so
problem.
just so Emily's got, she just happened to find it in the bill, so the geographical,
For small schools support, which is what we're talking about, those
Mhm.
who can maintain it, and I'll just read it quickly. Eligible school district means a school district that operates at least one school with an average grade size of 20 or fewer, and has been determined by the state board on an annual basis to be eligible due to either: one, the lengthy driving times or inhospitable travel routes between the school and the nearest school in which there is excess capacity, or number two, the academic excellence and operational efficiency of the school, which shall be based upon consideration of, and then it goes on to say, the school's measurable success in providing a variety of high educational opportunities that meet or exceed the educational quality standards adopted by the state board, blah, 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 the title. The percentage of students from economically deprived backgrounds as identified pursuant to subsection blah, blah, blah. And those students' measurable success in achieving positive outcomes. And then number three, the school's high student to staff ratios. And number four, the district's participation in a merger study and submission of a merger report to the state board pursuant to chapter 11 of this title otherwise. And then number six, school district means town, cities, incorporated interstate, union school district, or joint contract school established.
Emily, what's the citation for that?
Which one? I
VSA.
skipped over like three. I'm gonna hand it,
VSA what? Sections what?
well, I'm reading from the bill.
section 16 BSA 4015.
No, that's for this one up above, that's up for, that's for
Small
up,
school.
no, that's so,
Part of the bill, so we can,
Well, it's an act now, so it should be in law.
yeah, I'm not reading the act, I'm reading the bill, but this is the one that was passed, so.
Okay.
You'd have to go back in and see. I mean, what I was reading to you were subsections for those specific parts.
Okay.
And see, when I read that, or when I did read that, geographic necessity was linked to still 20 students per class, so.
Or less.
Yeah.
Or less.
Per grade.
Per grade.
That's
Sorry, 20 students
It's
per.
not class, that's
per
very
grade.
important.
Right.
So may I make a suggestion when we're going up there? I think it would be interesting actually to ask what solutions seem ideal.
I'll tell you, a supervisory district comprised of
No,
1,100.
I mean specifically, so here's.
Specifically what it says right in the bill.
Mhm.
I don't agree.
Don't
Either
keep
have
tossing me
choice or
softball.
just
I'm
have
saying,
choice.
well, I'm saying, when they look at our FCA. Okay, I'm sure that there will be suggestions about here, this might be ideal. I don't think I think we've been told that we can, be doing whatever we wanna do, pretty much, that we can make work at this point. But I think asking, what it is not a bad idea, I mean,
What
just.
suggestions do you have?
Well, just so we have a sense of where they're thinking we should go.
I like that.
okay, how do you
No,
wanna
really.
say that?
Maybe that's what Windham Southwest did.
Maybe that's how they got that answer then.
Could be.
Still isn't.
See, this is why I think it was good to have this discussion with the whole group.
Can you restate that question, so I'm trying to listen.
What suggestion would you as a group have for us?
Or do you have?
Or do you have? I have that. What suggestion do you
What
have?
recommendation do you have, is that what you're saying, or you wanna make a suggestion, not
Yeah.
recommendation?
Right.
Yeah. If you were in charge, what would you do?
If you were a benevolent dictator.
If you were rich.
If you were rich?
I keep running for benevolent dictator, but nobody votes for me.
You haven't run yet.
Everybody
You have
do.
no idea how many people
In my
would-
mind, I run all the time.
You'd be
Does
heavily
that say
supported,
it?
I promise.
The last one, does that say it, number 4?
Yes. I don't think it's school district. What suggestions do you have for WCSU? Because we're up there as WCSU, we're not up there as individual districts. Yes,
What was the final tally on our side of 5 people going up?
what was
You?
this? No, so right now, it's me, Laura asked to go, I asked Joe to go because I thought it was important to have Leland and Gray represented because they're the largest group, and Stephen and Bud. And they limited it to 5.
And I will give up my seat. I'm going. But I will go as a legislator and give up my seat if somebody would like my seat.
And if we have interest by other board members, Bud and I can work out something, we can go to another meeting too.
Well, and so anyways, I didn't know, because it went around in an email, and I don't know how many people actually really read the emails. Pardon?
I scanned it.
Well, I call you all the time and say, hey, check your emails.
I think it's really important that there's broad
Right, but
representation.
here's a couple other things that have come up in between. Stephen's here for now less than a year, 11 months, and then we have Bill going. So, you know, it's important that we have Bill go up at one time too, but I think it's important to go as a group. And then, there's some other school districts, so you've got myself and Laura going, we're both from the Dover School District. Is there other school districts that wanna go, and don't feel bad to bounce one of us, because if there's somebody else that wants to go, but I wanna make this, or have it be understood that whoever goes, we're going there as WCSU, we're not going there as Dover, we're not going there as Leland and Gray or Marlboro, wherever we are. So, yes.
I was just gonna suggest that even though I know Stephen had the request of limiting it to 5, in the situation we're in with sort of a superintendent that's leaving and a superintendent that's coming in, and both in RSU, my guess would be that they would allow 6 and include Bill. I think it'd be fantastic to have Bill Antone and participate in this, since he's really going to be the one who's working with it.
Do we know where these meetings are being held?
Yes,
Where?
being held
Montpelier.
Prospect Street in Montpelier, at the VSA, VSBA, VPA
Pardon me?
offices.
Well, I mean, I know they were limiting it, but I still think it's worth the request.
the room is
I think
limited.
it would be very
I've been in the
helpful.
room.
If Bill were interested in going, obviously, that would have
No, I
to
would-
be his choice, since he doesn't work for
Very,
us.
very interested, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so when I
See if
talked,
there's a
we'd
bouncer or
love to
not.
get everybody there and so forth, but I really, you know, this is not an administrative decision issue,
No, it isn't.
it's boards.
That's correct.
But the problem is I don't think any decision is really gonna be made in the next year, and, you know, and it's gonna carry over, which is,
Yeah, this is not the end of it, this is not
Right.
the make or break particular meeting.
So, but let me ask, is there any other board member that would have some interest in going, or would like to go? It's August 7th at 3 o'clock, so, you know, you've gotta probably leave here around 1-ish.
And I completely agree with Emily. I think it would be really good to make sure we have some broad representation.
Is there a carpool going?
They'll
Is
do
there a
that
car?
together, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is there dinner provided afterwards?
Yeah, sometimes we do that on the way home.
Can they?
Yes, absolutely.
Stephen's pretty tight with the
Sir,
budget.
I don't care, it's our budget. We
I'm
can
proud
decide.
of you, you're all right.
There's a great time, please. That is a good time.
Carol, you're looking like you wanna
I
go.
do
No,
think
I mean-
after the meeting, there'll be plenty of reason to talk, so it'd be good.
Okay, so anyways, is there anybody from another board that has any interest in going?
Put your hands up.
I trust you guys to represent us. I've got to potentially pay down. I mean, I'm not gonna commit, and it's since these seats are so pricey.
Pricey.
Well, you know, these seats are
You guys interested?
I'll bring it back to our board. I know that I can't go because I have a new job and an art opening that night.
And the problem is a lot of people do have other things going on that night too.
I would totally go.
Okay, so listen, if anybody wants to go, send me an email, and if multiple people wanna go, I'll throw names in a hat, and this is how we pick superintendent search committees before. We'll pull them out of the hat.
Can we double check what the maximum is? Stephen?
Well, I'd like.
I mean, I can, you know, if we have people who wanna go, I'll go up to 6 or 7.
Stephen, hang on, just
Okay.
see if we can
I have
get.
to have people to be able to make the argument.
See if we can get at least a 6 in there, that we can bring Bill up to.
I don't wanna push back too hard on you folks, but if you don't have the people, I'm not gonna make the argument that
We
I
have
need to have
6,
more
Stephen.
Is there any more
We do?
people than there's
Yes.
spots?
Myself.
There are 6 people who are already committed.
1, 2,
What we're trying to
3,
find out is
4,
if another
5,
board
and
wants
if
to
we
be
bring him
represented.
6.
So we might be 7.
So we're at least 6.
So if,
I don't need to know who they are, you can tell me. Great.
Right.
And Ralph's
Okay,
coming too.
so, having said that, are there any other questions that you folks want to see asked? And if not, we will move forward.
What's for dinner?
What's for dinner? As long as it's not chicken.
can I just say, because we're
Hang
such
on.
a
Tacos, I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
sure.
Bill and then Emily. Go ahead, Bill.
And maybe Stephen knows this, but I think we should send our questions tomorrow. Give them 2 weeks to think about what you guys have come up with.
Well, let me do this. Let's get the minutes out and have the board review the questions, and then if
Great.
there's any additional questions that come up, and then, so let's,
Good
can we
idea.
do that, Stephen?
You'll all have the questions tonight before we leave the meeting.
Okay, perfect.
How can we get the
No, hang on,
savings?
hang on. Your
I'm
turn.
just gonna put out one last plea, this has nothing to do with Laura and Rich, because I already talked to Rich about this, and I have absolutely zero doubt that they can represent Windham Central. But I think it would be really good if there were another board represented going up there as a board member besides just Leland and Gray and Dover. I think it'd be great to have at least 3. The reason I say that is because we are one of the most diverse supervisory unions in the state, and I think it'd be really great, and it would be a good message sent that here we have different, people who are representing different types of boards. That's
And-
all, so I would encourage
It
others
would
to
be
put their
good
name
too,
on.
one of the Leland and Gray town schools too, because you'll have a choice town and maybe a non-choice town, like if you had some interest in going up.
It's from 3 to 4.
It's an hour, it's 3 to 4.
And I could probably swing it.
Okay, we'll find out for sure, let us know tomorrow, and then we can let Stephen know that he needs to argue for an extra, 2 extra spots, and then if they don't wanna do that, we'll figure something out.
Yep.
Okay, is that good with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Is that?
Any other discussion? We're gonna close that topic and move into number 6, consultant technical support for study, resources for study, possible action. So one of the reasons I've asked to have this brought up is, right now, Emily informs me, because she's got a connection at the VSBA, that there's some talk about, some consultants being available, but we don't know anything about it yet. I was hoping maybe we'd know, but this is definitely something, we hear from Stephen a lot that, he's pretty well burdened, and we don't wanna make his last year totally miserable here. We can't lean on Bill too much, because Bill still has another school to run for a little while, and then I do know that he meets with Stephen occasionally and gets, briefed on what's going on at Windham Central. So I think we're all kind of in agreement, we're gonna need some help or consultant, or, there'd been some suggestions, maybe an intern to take the minutes, and they would be able to put the list together for us and do that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to know, and there isn't anything out yet, is there, about consultants and how?
It's in process, ongoing to train. There's going to be I'm trying to find the word that they used. Laura, you saw the same emails. What they called it, it's a Act 46 implementation project. That there are a bunch of many of the organizations that you talked about. It's VSA, the SBA, VSBIT, and I don't know if somebody else is involved. But anyway, there's a funding from VSBIT to help facilitate the process and train consultants in the needs and the bill. And so there will be resources available for school districts around the state. And I think that's supposed to be up and running, hopefully, fingers crossed, by September 1st.
So the reason we had possible action is, one of the things is when we set up the budget last year, we didn't budget for any kind of consultants or, interns are usually free. Pardon? Not yours?
Not good ones.
Not good ones, okay. Anyways, so, there could be the possibility that we're gonna have to ask Stephen to go outside of the budget or, to find some extra money in the budget. So I guess for right now, there's not a lot we can do with that, but it needs to be something that we need to keep in the back of our mind. Stephen, is your office okay to continue kinda help us out with this
Yeah.
along until we figure out a consultant and?
Oh, right, I think,
Is there any
I'd appreciate from this group, if you do want to have a consultant, that you direct me to inquire about it so I can get us in line and get us set up to have that provided. Okay, that's really, I think, what could be very important to follow up, especially after August 7th. But I'm gonna put it in an email to Jeff and Laura and so forth, make sure that these folks know that we are, my SU board is ready to move forward on a study. If we're not ready yet, don't pretend to be, but I'm just saying that's what,
Yeah, I don't know that
we're
we're
told
ready
to
yet,
get
are
in
we?
line quickly.
I
because
would
there are
suggest
things-
that whether, we can always say no, I think we'd be absolutely crazy not to do exactly what Stephen said and say we are interested in getting a consultant, because if we decide we don't want one, we can say no, but if we
Right.
don't, it may not be able, I know they've got a big, trying to get a big list.
How will we know when we're ready?
Oh my God. Well, no.
I think we're gonna need somebody to work with us
We're pretty
just
close.
to keep moving forward. Because it's gonna be more than any of us are gonna be able to handle, because remember, come another 2 months, we're thinking budgets and
I agree.
WCSU budgets and.
Can I read one sentence so people understand
Yep.
what it is? It's, the Act 46 implementation project is going to be designed to ensure that Vermont's public school communities have access to a range of high-quality supports and services to achieve effective implementation of the Act. So
That could be
that's
now.
what the design is to be,
That
so
can
it's
totally be
not.
now, I feel.
Right, they could be
Yeah.
helping us facilitate the
Support.
meetings
What we
and.
can't do.
minutes.
We had one,
Thank
a
you.
consultant for the red,
Yeah.
who came in and, helped with
So would it
agendas
make sense to try to get the red committee study person or not?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not, no
He's
offense,
gone
but I.
anyways.
Okay. So anyways,
No.
how about,
Wouldn't say-
could we
He's in
entertain a
Florida.
motion to direct Stephen to contact the appropriate organization to request to be put on the list for a consultant?
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, you can.
Second.
I can't,
Executive
that's
committee,
right.
you can.
Yeah,
Second.
That's right.
You
Joe-
can.
Joe
I can.
Winner,
I can.
winner.
Okay, so Carolyn made the motion, Stephen, Joe seconded it. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any abstentions or any nays? Second thing I want to bring up is, as at the last meeting, we had the discussion about the videotaping, it's $100 per session. And it doesn't go in his pocket, he told us last time, if you remember. But is that something we wanna continue? Has anybody heard of anybody seeing it online or looking at it or reading it? I know you've got some comments, so go with you first.
You're gonna let me go first?
Yeah.
I absolutely think we need to continue doing it. I think big, huge. I think potentially big and huge what we're doing here. Fear can promote bad behavior. I think knowledge combats fear. I think videotaped meetings helps with knowledge. I think it's a small price to pay. And a great resource.
Okay, is there any way to tell how many people
Yeah, I was
actually
gonna
see it and look at it and
They can
review it?
tell us.
Clicks, yeah. They can measure the clicks.
How many clicks, do you know? Can you find out for us? Okay.
It's gonna cost you another
And
$100.
it may not be now either, Rich. It could be, like, people may not even understand what's going on. That's the thing, is, all of a sudden, somebody gets the wrong information, or maybe the right information, and gets nervous, and then pandemonium. It's happened to all of us. And what's going on, and this makes it really easy. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we've been talking about.
But if, can I?
Oh, yeah.
If we're going to put money into doing this, I think it's really important that we recognize how people access this and why they would access it. because I don't get cable. And I have very poor internet at my house. And, I mean, I literally don't have cable at my house, so I can't watch it on TV, and I struggle to watch it online. I can watch it, but it buffers a lot. So I think it's really important that, and I, you know, I have to tell you, if for all of you who have or have not tried to review these, no offense, it's not their meetings, but it can be fairly boring. So I think we would need to, you know, try to promote this in some way if we're gonna spend the money and say.
Saying we're a boring
No,
group.
I'm just saying that these meetings tend to drag on and they're hard to watch when you sit in your living room and the dog wants to go out or whatever, and you walk away from the TV and you come back and it's still the same thing and you turn it off. I mean, no offense, but I think it's important that we promote this as a resource if we're going to spend the money.
I would agree with the promotion of it. I think most people don't know how to access it or what it's about.
That's true.
Is that something that can be put into the calendar in Brattleboro Reformer or something?
I mean, it's in the meeting notices, but
we don't have cable.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Windham
We don't
doesn't
need,
get
we
cable.
don't have, we can't watch this on TV.
Well, we put
Well,
it.
I mean, we could ask for it.
We put it in our minutes that it was posted.
Yeah.
We invited community members to come for a debrief, and then we also shared it on Front Porch Forum.
Right.
And
I mean, Newfane gets
There was
cable.
something about Front Porch,
Yeah.
one of these supervisory meetings talked about they have a Front Porch Forum
So do we.
set things set
Oh,
up.
just for
So
them.
do we.
Dover,
Who does?
we all do.
Dover and Wilmington.
Marlboro has a
We
good
do.
one.
Oh,
It's just
okay.
town,
Yeah.
though, right?
Show me your phone.
You know, you do it by
Newfane and
town.
Townsend
You
have
do it
one
by town,
together.
not by supervisory.
Or is it Newfane
I
and
mean, you
Wilmington?
can get it in
He
Facebook. You
doesn't.
can put
Okay,
it on social
so-
media somewhere
Yeah.
too. And
Okay, so we need to get this out that people know. Stephen, did you have your hand up or?
Well, yeah, I just want to say that you'll be surprised if it's out there, how word of mouth and somebody will stumble upon it. That's what the advantages of this, and it is through a streaming situation, so you don't have to have cable to get this.
No.
Okay.
Great. Watch it
So,
online.
so I don't know, I was gonna ask Joe if he could remember when BCTV reported to us as a board at Leland and Gray what the number of hits or the amount of viewers were, but it was quite remarkable how many people were viewing it.
It was
I
a
mean,
lot of people
100
that watched the
something.
Leland and Gray.
You know.
And if I could just follow up on that, I don't know if you guys, you and Lyndall hear it, Joe, but I get people telling me
Yeah, a
they
lot of
watch
people.
Leland and Gray.
I
Lot
get,
of
Board meetings.
I
I
get
think
a
our meetings are a
call,
lot
I get
more
at least a
interesting.
call a month. I get at least one call after every meeting saying, I was watching it on TV and I have a question.
But Townsend has cable.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Newfane has
Oh,
cable,
I
except
am.
where I live.
I
I'll
gotta,
send the calls to you.
yeah, that's fine.
South Newfane has cable up to where I live.
Okay. Ralph has
After that,
been really
forget it,
patiently
forget it.
trying to get his hand up there.
Just very briefly, when you say it's put online, do you mean that it's put up on YouTube, for example?
No,
Right.
No,
one of
it's
the deals with Brattleboro Cable is they put it up on their website, right?
It's on YouTube.
It is available on YouTube.
Oh,
And the other thing that we do now is I take down the time code
Right.
as to what comes up.
Right.
So number 6 comes up at 58 minutes, blah, blah. And
On the
on
agenda.
YouTube, you click on that and you go to that place in the video.
So you don't have to.
You don't have to watch the whole meeting. You can just watch what you're
Watch what
interested
part
in.
you're interested. Okay, well, thank you.
Watch the good parts.
I'm actually really good with it because I'm sure I'm gonna get discovered and I'm gonna be famous.
Well, I was
someday.
gonna say we
You are
should
famous.
switch the
what?
lighting.
So-
if we're
Well,
going
I don't know for what, but, a couple, I actually had 2 people ask me, is that a wise expenditure of your money? And I said, okay, well, I'll ask. I was hoping it was free. I mean, just so, we're so entertaining. So Stephen, I think we're all good on that. Was there anything else that you needed?
Well, we will try to, we will look into how we can have it more obvious on our website at WCSU board level, because that's really where the focus is. But really, it should be linked back to all of the school sites, which is where a lot of the parents and public go. And we'll try to look into that through Matt.
And maybe with the online.
Yeah, just so the reference is there, if you want to see the.
Yeah.
So you can actually watch this on your phone?
You can,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
you
sure.
could, yeah. If you have
Yeah.
sufficient
On your
data
phone.
streaming.
Okay.
You gotta have a smartphone,
So
it won't work on the old.
this
flip phone.
actually segues into number 7, because I had, no, it's next meeting. And I had location to be determined. So here's something else I want to do. Way back in the dark ages, we always used to be Leland Gray. Then I got to be chairman and I said, hey, I want to go to other places. And then it got to be that it was really awful because, Marlboro had to try to drive to Windham in the middle of the winter, and
Yeah.
and then springtime, you couldn't go the back way to Marlboro from Windham, and,
Yeah.
and so we kind of have left things at Windham, at Leland and Gray.
Not true.
What?
What the decision was that the full board meetings were going to be held at Leland and Gray, and then the executive committee meetings would continue to move around as long as we all agreed that they were going to be moved around.
Okay.
We agreed that 3 a year would be held at Leland and Gray.
Okay, but anyways, I'm thinking that just because it's important, but I don't know how it affects this gentleman, what I was wondering is, would it be more important, would it maybe be good for the next, September's the retreat anyways, but for the August meeting and maybe the October meeting, do we want to move it around to some different areas so that Carolyn, your comment, nobody's going to come from Windham down here to see what's going on. So do we want to maybe go out to Wardsboro or Jamaica, or do we want to go to Windham or Marlboro?
I don't wanna have to drive to Marlboro, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'd rather come to Leland and Gray.
We don't wanna have to go to Windham.
That was the conversation.
They'll fine about that.
Marlboro didn't wanna go to Windham, and Windham didn't want to.
No, and that's fine.
It's
This
beautiful
is-
in the summer, I'll drive anyway.
This is a conversation, I just want to throw it out there. Do you guys think it's important for each of you? Do you think it would be important to host it in your town? Do you think you would have more people show up, or does it not matter? So go ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe it doesn't matter during these meetings, but I think it's going to matter farther along. So maybe we could make the decision, if people don't wanna travel that far, to hold these preliminary meetings, these earlier in the scheduled meetings. And if things start to move forward with some kind of cohesiveness, then maybe we could consider moving around where community members would have a easier time attending.
Is that everybody in agreement with that?
I agree with that.
Does that affect you? Can you go anywhere, or?
Do you have a car?
What? No, I didn't know if there was, I didn't know.
He brings all his equipment.
Okay, I don't know, so I'm just asking.
He does.
So then let's have the next meeting here at Leland and Gray, so it's not to be determined anymore. So you know what that comes to?
Adjourn.
Adjourned?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude. Anybody got a problem?
Good job, Rich. That's what you're gonna be famous for, Rich.
Okay, so Carolyn moved and
I'll second.
Joe second adjournment. Thank you, everybody. So Leland and Gray, the 26th at 7 o'clock. If you have suggestions for the agenda, please let us know ahead of time. Thank you, everybody.